You're listening to the Bare Metal Cyber Prepcast, created to help you succeed in your PMP certification journey. Learn more at baremetalcyber.com, where additional prepcasts, books, and training materials await. Let's get started. Debriefing is the hidden skill that separates those who practice questions from those who actually improve. Answering a situational item correctly by luck or instinct feels good, but without reflection it does not build durable confidence. Missing an item feels discouraging, but it is actually the most valuable moment to learn. The act of diagnosing why you missed it, classifying the type of mistake, and installing a short fix script turns a failure into a future strength. This is the essence of a debrief lab, treating every miss as raw material to create habits that will hold under exam timing and in real project environments. To make this work, you need tools that capture both the error and the context. An error log is the anchor. Every miss is recorded, not just as wrong, but tagged with the cause. 4 tags are especially useful: K for knowledge gaps, P for process misses, R for rushing errors, and M for misreads. This classification forces you to be specific. Was the error because you didn't know a contract clause? K. Because you skipped impact analysis? P. Because you chose too fast? R. Or because you read risk when the stem said issue? M. Naming the cause is the first step in neutralizing it. Alongside the error log, keep decision and change logs. These connect your practice sessions to the same habits you'll need in project delivery. If a miss involved a scope decision, which artifact would you have updated in a real project? The change log, the RTM, or the baseline? By forcing yourself to answer that, you practice the instinct of logging decisions as evidence. Finally, create an artifact map, a chart showing which artifact aligns with which type of problem. For example, requirement disputes right-pointing arrow RTM, vendor disputes right-pointing arrow contract terms, compliance questions right-pointing arrow registers, and TOPIA. This prevents artifact mismatch and accelerates your reasoning. The flow of a debrief session follows 3 deliberate steps. First, choose the cases you want to analyze, typically the ones you missed or answered with low confidence. Second, diagnose the root cause using the K/PRM tags. This step alone creates awareness. You stop thinking of misses as random and start seeing patterns. Third, install a fix script, a short sequence of steps you can rehearse aloud, designed to address that root cause. For example, if you tend to escalate first, your fix script might be facilitate right-pointing arrow, analyze right-pointing arrow, escalate with plan. Saying it aloud trains your reflexes, so the next time you face a similar scenario, the script plays automatically in your head. One of the most common patterns is skipping impact analysis. This is a process miss, and it shows up whenever you pick answers like just do it, approve immediately, or re-baseline first. These choices sound decisive and may even feel satisfying under time pressure, but they betray the fundamental rhythm of project management. Our discipline exists to avoid action without analysis. The correct sequence is always: check the artifact, run impact analysis, decide via the governance path, update the record, and communicate. Whenever you find yourself drawn to an option that skips those steps, it is a red flag. The fix script for skipped analysis is clear: artifact right-pointing arrow, impact right-pointing arrow decision, via policy, right-pointing arrow, update right-pointing arrow, communicate. Practicing this rhythm aloud cements it. To reinforce it further, take practice stems and restate them as impact unknown sentences. For example, if the stem says sponsor asks to accelerate delivery, rewrite it as impact of sponsor request is unknown, analysis required. This reframing builds the habit of looking for what you don't know yet. On the exam, stems often hide clues that impact has not been analyzed. Spotting that language signals the right path. Another frequent miss is escalating first, which can result from either process weakness or rushing. The symptom is jumping to a sponsor, legal counsel, or vendor before attempting to resolve the issue yourself. While escalation is sometimes correct, it is rarely the first step. Premature escalation signals that you skipped your responsibility to facilitate alignment and analyze options. It also wastes governance bandwidth. Sponsors expect you to resolve most conflicts at your level, only bringing them decisions once analysis is complete. Recognizing this pattern in your misses is essential, because it is one of the most common traps on the exam. The fixed script here is: facilitate alignment, analyze evidence with artifacts, and escalate only with a plan. A plan means that when you do escalate, you present options, impacts, and a recommendation, not just a problem. Practicing this script involves scanning stems for decision rights and thresholds. Ask yourself, who is authorized to decide this, and what is my role? If the answer is that you can facilitate alignment first, then escalation is premature. By rehearsing this reasoning, you strengthen your instinct to use escalation as a last resort, not a reflex. A third recurring error is artifact mismatch. This is usually a mix of knowledge and misread issues. The symptom is choosing the wrong document to consult, opening the test plan when the stem is really about scope, or referencing the risk register when the problem is benefits drift. This happens often under exam timing because stems use familiar words in tricky ways. You see test and think test plan when the real anchor is acceptance criteria in the RTM. The result is a plausible-sounding wrong answer. The way to prevent this is to train your artifact-first reflex. The fixed script for artifact mismatch is to map each problem type to the right artifact. Scope disputes, right-pointing arrow scope statement, and RTM. Requirement gaps, right-pointing arrow RTM, and acceptance criteria. Risk exposure, right-pointing arrow risk register. Issues in flight, right-pointing arrow issue log. Benefits drift, right-pointing arrow benefits register. Compliance questions, right-pointing arrow compliance register and CIPA. Vendor disputes, right-pointing arrow SOW and contract terms. By rehearsing this mapping, you create a mental checklist. On the exam, when you see a stem, the first question becomes, which artifact governs this situation? That question alone can eliminate half the distractors. To practice, take a set of stems and force yourself to answer only this. Which artifact would you open first? Ignore the options for a moment. By doing this, you train yourself to anchor decisions in evidence before you even see the answer choices. This practice reduces the chance of being pulled toward distractors. Over time, the link between problem type and artifact becomes automatic. In a real project, this translates into credibility, because stakeholders respect managers who can say, "Let's check the contract," or "We need the RTM." It signals discipline rather than guesswork. Let's make this concrete with a guided case debrief. Suppose you missed a scope change question where you approved immediately to satisfy a stakeholder. Your wrong choice, immediate approval. The correct choice, impact analysis with baseline and change log. Root cause tag, P for skipping process. Fix heuristic, impact unknown right-pointing arrow analyze. Review target, integrated change control in scope management. By writing this in your error log, you transform a miss into a study plan. Each element, the miss, the correct action, the tag, the heuristic, the study, domain, reinforces learning. Another example, you escalated a vendor conflict straight to the sponsor. Wrong choice, escalation. Correct choice, facilitate WICD review, document decisions, reset cadence. Tag, P for process, R for rushing. Heuristic, facilitate first, escalate with plan. Review target, procurement contracts, and dispute management. Again, logging this pattern ensures you don't repeat it. Seeing the tag and heuristic reminds you under exam timing that escalation is rarely first. It conditions you to slow down and facilitate, even when pressed. One more case. You misread a compliance question and chose to send chat screenshots as proof. Wrong choice, screenshots. Correct choice, official changelog with linked approvals, kappa for gaps. Tag, M for misread, K for knowledge gap about evidence standards. Heuristic, official log plus CAPA, never screenshots. Review target, quality and compliance registers. By logging this, you remind yourself that informal records are never enough, even if they look convenient. The fixed script becomes reflex. Evidence must be official, traceable, and durable. These guided debriefs illustrate how every miss can be converted into a fixed script. The act of writing them down and rehearsing them aloud creates muscle memory. On the exam, when faced with a stem that tempts you with a shortcut, the heuristic surfaces. In real projects, when pressured to approve verbally or skip a log, the same heuristic protects you. This is the bridge between exam prep and professional leadership. Discipline under pressure, reinforced through error-driven learning. Debrief labs are not about scoring, they are about rewiring instincts. By tagging errors, mapping artifacts, rehearsing scripts, and building heuristics, you train yourself to resist shortcuts and act with discipline. Exam designers build questions that tempt you to skip analysis, escalate too fast, or grab the wrong artifact. Real stakeholders push for the same shortcuts. Practicing debriefs conditions you to say, artifact first, impact analysis before action, policy path for decisions and updates for traceability. That rhythm, repeated across cases, is what makes you reliable. For more cyber-related content and books, please check out cyberauthor.me. Also, there are other prepcasts on cybersecurity and more at baremetalcyber.com. One of the trickier mistakes learners make shows up in multi-select questions. These are the ones that ask you to choose two. The common error is picking two answers that sound good but don't complement each other. For example, you might select two escalations, or two meetings, or two forms of documentation. Both choices may sound professional, but together they don't move the situation forward. What these questions are really testing is whether you can balance actions pairing one that gathers or communicates information with one that executes a decision. Practicing that balance helps you avoid wasting two picks on the same type of response. When you face this kind of item, listen for verbs in the question stem. Words like first, next, or best usually signal sequence. If both of your answers are sitting in the same step of that sequence, you've probably chosen wrong. The safe approach is to make sure one option addresses analysis or communication, and the other option covers action or implementation. That pairing reflects the real flow of projects. You investigate first, then you move. This mindset keeps your answers balanced and makes it easier to eliminate tempting but redundant distractors. Another recurring trap involves the tension between quality and speed. In timed practice and in live projects, you'll feel the pull to ship quickly, even when defects are visible. The wrong instinct is to choose the answer that says, deliver now, fix later, without any plan. That feels decisive, but it undermines quality and leaves operations exposed. The correct discipline is to balance cadence with protection. That means doing just enough preventative work now to stop the biggest risks, and then preparing a structured follow-up. It's not about being perfect, but about being deliberate. A practical way to do this is to look at the defect log and run a quick Pareto check. Which cause accounts for most of the problems? Fix that now, even with a minimal adjustment. Then prepare a hypercare plan for release, an intensified support window where the remaining issues are monitored and resolved quickly. This approach shows stakeholders that you aren't blocking delivery, but you aren't ignoring risks either. You're protecting value while still keeping momentum. Saying this aloud as a short reminder, Pareto first, fix the top cause, then hypercare the rest, helps you recall it when stress is high. At this stage, you should be able to see which tags show up most often in your own practice. Maybe you skip analysis and act too fast, which is a process miss. Maybe you escalate immediately, which is rushing. Maybe you confuse artifacts, which is a knowledge and misread issue. Take your top 3 patterns and design short corrective scripts for each. Keep them brief, spoken, and easy to repeat. For example, if you tend to escalate too soon, your script could be facilitate first, analyze with artifacts, escalate only with a plan. Now attach each script to an artifact so the habit is anchored in evidence. If your script is about scope disputes, pair it with the scope baseline and the requirements traceability matrix. If it's about compliance, tie it to the changelog and the compliance register. If it's about procurement, tie it to the statement of work and contract change clauses. Saying these pairings aloud, scope means RTM, vendor means contract, reinforces the reflex. Over time, this habit will help you name the right artifact under exam timing, and in real projects, it will keep you from improvising. The key is to rehearse the scripts out loud. Don't just read them silently. Use your voice to train your memory. For example, say, impact unknown, analyze before action, artifact, analysis, policy, update, communicate. Or, defects late, fix the top cause now, and plan hypercare for the rest. The act of speaking these reminders builds fluency. They'll come back to you faster when you're under timed conditions. It's the same way athletes practice movements until they're automatic here. You're rehearsing thought patterns until they're instinctive. To test yourself, run a short micro drill. Pick 3 questions and give yourself no more than 75 seconds each. After you choose an answer, speak your reasoning aloud. Then tag the mistake if you made one knowledge, process, rush, or misread. Name the artifact you relied on. Finally, check your result against the scripts you've written. Did you actually follow the process you designed? If not, adjust the script so it fits your instinct more naturally. This back-and-forth tuning sharpens your habits with every cycle. During these drills, pay attention not only to whether you got the answer right, but also to how smoothly you reasoned through it. If you hesitated to name an artifact or stumbled through your script, that's a sign the habit isn't yet strong. Repeat the exercise until it flows. The goal is to make your reflex so quick that under exam timing or in a sponsor meeting, your first instinct is to anchor the decision in the right artifact and policy path. When that reflex kicks in, stress decreases because you know exactly how to begin. To make these new habits stick, schedule 2 reattempts. Run a short drill tomorrow while the material is still fresh, and then repeat 1 a week later to reinforce it. This spacing effect ensures that your corrections survive forgetting. Each time, run through 10 questions at pace, apply your tags, and test your scripts. Don't aim for perfection, aim for fluency. The test is whether your scripts surface automatically, not whether you remember every detail. That's what long-term retention looks like. It's also helpful to keep a small list of triggers, simple, spoken cues that prime you before a practice set. For example, if impact is unknown, analyze before acting. If a stakeholder pushes urgently, check the artifact first. If the question asks for 2 actions, pick one that analyzes and one that implements. If defects appear late, fix the top cause and plan hypercare. If a vendor requests a change, remember, no modification, no change. Reading these 5 cues aloud before a drill frames your mindset. They work like guardrails, steering you away from rushing or misreading. Now, fold these scripts into your regular pacing practice. Whenever you complete a practice item, don't just mark it right or wrong. Say your script aloud. For example, after answering a compliance scenario correctly, say, official log, linked evidence, CAPA for gaps, then communicate. Hearing yourself explain the logic is more powerful than quietly recognizing it. It builds confidence that your choice wasn't lucky, it was process-driven. Over time, you'll notice you naturally verbalize these sequences, even while reading stems silently. It's important to remember that debrief labs are about progress, not punishment. Every miss is a data point. Each one becomes a tag, a script, an artifact pairing, and eventually a reflex. The exam will test your ability to stay calm under timed pressure. but so will your projects. Sponsors, vendors, and auditors don't give you hours to think. They want decisions quickly. Having rehearsed scripts gives you something to lean on, keeping your answers structured rather than reactive. That structure builds trust, both on test day and in your career. Think of it this way. Every time you debrief, you are investing in your future reflexes. Misses turn into cues. Cues turn into scripts. Scripts turn into instincts. And instincts are what save you when time is short and pressure is high. Over weeks of practice, you will find yourself instinctively checking artifacts, running impact analysis, and resisting the urge to escalate or appease. You will also find yourself explaining your reasoning more clearly, because the scripts give you the language. That clarity is what sets apart a professional. The lock-in plan ties it all together. Tomorrow, run a short drill using your scripts. Next week, repeat to reinforce. Keep your 5 triggers in front of you during study sessions. Fold your scripts into your pacing routine by speaking them aloud after every question. Over time, these practices will become second nature. You'll notice fewer misses tagged as process or rush, and more confidence in artifact selection. That's how you know the Debrief Lab has done its job. The very mistakes that once tripped you now power the habits that carry you through. Thanks for tuning in to the Bare Metal Cyber Prepcast, your trusted source for cybersecurity news and insights. Remember to subscribe at baremetalcyber.com so you never miss an update. And visit cyberauthor.me for best-selling cybersecurity books that equip you with expert knowledge. Until next time, stay secure and stay vigilant.